Welcome to Wealth Redreamed. I'm Steve, and today we're talking about the philosophy of building true wealth, the kind of wealth you actually want in your life. And I think that this is going to be a unique look at it for you, so I hope you'll stick with me here. So, in my broader philosophy, we really have sort of three primary consciousness centers. And if you look into biology, into the health space, you're going to learn that we don't have just one brain up here. We actually have three brains. The heart has its own set of neurons, the gut has its own set of neurons, and collectively they create a nervous system for us. So in my view, we have three forms of consciousness. For me, the gut ties us to survival mechanisms and therefore has really the association of the past and of fear. Things that have happened to us in the past, traumas and things like that, kind of live in that brain and affect the rest of the nervous system from there. So we have our fears there. Up here we have planning. That means thinking about the future. Therefore, it also has to do with desires, things that we want that will fulfill certain desires. And often these centers will interact, and if the old survival brain is influencing the thinking brain for the future, then desires will also have to do with fears of the past. Maybe we're terrified that we won't have enough to eat, so we start wanting to accumulate wealth for ourselves. And these two brain centers or consciousness centers of fear and desire, or needs and wants. And I've talked about wants and needs in a previous video. So now think about that from this perspective. Our needs, that is our survival needs, and our wants, our desires, are associated with these two brains. Whereas for me, the brain right here in the heart has to do with the present moment. So you have the past, you have the future, and you have the present moment in the heart. Okay, and so largely that's what I see. And I'm going to give you one little tip that's not necessarily about wealth in the standard way, but when people think about, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're not healthy, it means nothing. So one form of wealth you actually want is good health. And a lot of people today in the health space are talking about longevity. And one of my things that I like to point out to people is that you can live 150 years, but if you're not actually experiencing those years, you haven't actually lived them. If you are in a state of fear or a state of desire and you're always running away from the present moment, you're not actually experiencing life in real time. And so those 150 years, if you only spent 10% of that in the present moment, then you've only actually lived for 15 years after 150 years, okay? And so for me, the greatest way you can expand your longevity is to live more in the present moment. Then if you lived 33% of your life in the present moment and you only lived to 90, well then you would have spent 30 years living, that is being in the present moment, experiencing what life has to offer. So I feel like this is really important, and it takes you out of a place of wants and desires and brings you into a place of simple gratitude. And that concept of gratitude, when we can practice gratitude, it actually brings us into the present moment. So last time I talked about meeting people's wants and needs. That is really satisfying those two elements of their consciousness, of their past and their future. And the more you're able to do that, it allows people's, let's say, their fears and desires to be tampered down and move them into the present moment. So if you are really helping to satisfy those needs and wants and bring them into the present moment, you're doing for them, you're benefiting them in a way that they're not even thinking about. This element of moving into the present moment, for me, is one of the greatest wealth builders we can receive for ourselves and that we can give to other people. That is giving value to life. And so this is a really interesting thing, because when you come into your present moment and you are no longer in a place of fear or desire where you're saying, how can I get money from somebody else? How can I get something from somebody else? All of a sudden you are able to start thinking about them. And this is what I talked about in the previous video of meeting somebody's wants and needs. This ability to get into the present moment allows you to do that a whole lot better. You're not thinking of yourself. You are starting to now think of them and connect to others, because whereas the gut is about survival and the head brain is about planning, right here in the heart we have connection. Those are sort of the three elements, and we're able to connect to somebody else and understand them and reach them where they are. And in this way, yes, we can build greater wealth, but we are doing it by genuinely serving other people and getting them the things that they want or need. So if we're looking to attract good things into our lives, being in that present moment not only sets a resonance out into the universe that brings the appropriate things to us, but in part that is experienced by the fact that we can then honestly, from a present moment, see where people are and meet them and meet their needs. So what I would encourage you to do, if this resonates with you, is to really understand that practicing gratitude and applying gratitude and taking a deep breath and being in the moment and seeing the miracle of breathing in air from a planet, exchanging with this planet, this amazing place that you have, or the food that you're eating, or the trees that are surrounding you, or the people. There's so many things in every moment that we can be grateful for, and that brings us into a place of not only actually living and therefore extending our lived lives, not just extending our lives, but what we really lived. So it immediately gives us a benefit, but then it starts attracting better things into our lives. So I encourage you to start thinking about that. And if you have experience with this yourselves, if you have seen the benefits of gratitude, I would love to know about that in the comments. If you have different perspectives, I would also love to hear about that. And if this resonates with you, please consider liking, subscribing, and we'll keep doing this in future videos. And meanwhile, let's just keep growing together.